Coming up next, it's Total
Boss
Island on
2 girls in 1 cup.
Coming up next, it's
16
on
Porn
Network. Coming up next, it's
musty as hell, so I know that I stank.
Coming up next, it's Adventures in
Masturbating
on
Pussy
Network. Coming up next, it's Camp
Twat
on
Johnny Bravo.
Coming up next, it's
Fuckers
Home for Imaginary
Field
on
Smurf
Network. Coming up next, it's
Muscle bitch about the shit in my mouth.
Up next, it's
Young Twat
on
G.I. Joe.
Coming up next, it's
Ass
Man
Poosay
of the
Ass
Woman on
Penis
Network.
Coming up next, it's
Michael Jackson
5
Dig
on
Vagina
Network.
Coming up next, it's
Baby Sardines
on
Buzz Bunny.
Coming up next, it's
Niagara Fall in this pussy all day.
Coming up next, it's Scooby-Doo's
Doggy Style
on
CupcakKe
Network. Coming up next, it's Scooby-Doo and the
Bitch Masturbators
on
Buzz Bunny
Coming up next, it's Scooby-Doo and the Monster of
Vagina
on
Field
Network.
Coming up next, it's Scooby-Doo and the Witches
Bitch
on
Deepthroat
Network.
Coming up next, it's Scooby-Doo
Bitches
Ahoy on
Buzz Bunny
Coming up next, it's Scooby-Doo
Wanna see a trick that's worth it?
on
Buzz Bunny
Coming up next, it's What's
What?
Scooby-Doo on
Poosay
Network.
Coming up next, it's
Sex
time.
The Flintstones
Coming up next, it's Casper's.
Penny stuck in my ass.
Coming up next,
Michael Jackson beat it.
coming up next, it's Home Alone 3 on
CupcakKe
Network. Coming up next, it's
Penis
of the
Niagara Fall
on.
Buzz Bunny
Coming up next, it's
Vagina
on.
Cheetos.
Coming up next, it's
Nikki fan, that's why the pussy look like Pink Friday.
up next, it's Scooby-Doo. The
Poosay.
begins on
CupcakKe
Network. Coming up next, it's
Young Twat
Trouble in
Penis Spider-Man
Up next, the
Pussy Bitches
continues on.
Tom and Jerry
Coming up next, it's
Penis
Bumps on
CupcakKe
Network. Up next, it's
Hold
on
Field Don't
Network. Coming up next, it's Krypto the Super
Doggy Style
on
Deepthroat
Network. Up next, it's
Michael Jackson
on
CupcakKe
Network. Coming up next, it's
Ass Field Don't
on
Penis
Network. Coming up next, it's
Ass Field Don't
Blast Off to
Dig
on.
Spider-Man
Coming up next, it's
Ass Field Don't
the Fast and the on
CupcakKe
Network. Up next, it's Hot Wheels
Vagina
Force
Fuck Batman
Coming up next, it's the Marvelous Misadventures of
Vagina
on
Deepthroat
Network. Coming up next, it's
Dig
Fours, the
Penis
Fours on.
The Flintstones
Coming up next, it's
Vagina
Test on.
Batman
Coming up next, it's Codename Bitches Next Door on.
Spider-Man
Coming up next, it's the Mr. Bitches Show on
Penis
Network. Coming up next, it's Robot
Bitch
on.
Batman
Coming up next, it's the
Vagina Bitches CupcakKe
Network. Coming up next, it's
Ass
Man, the and the
What? The Flintstones
Coming up next, it's
Hot Cheeto Puff
up next, it's
Masturbator
Rex on
Deepthroat
Network. Coming up next, it's
Penis
10 Alien Force on.
Spider-Man
Up next, it's
Penis
10 Ultimate Alien on
Field Don't
Network. Coming up next, it's
Penis
10 on.
The best dick sucker